Before we get started, I'd like to welcome Reverend Jerry Dockery from Crabapple First Baptist Church to lead us in invocation.
Good evening. Let's pray. Father, we're thankful for the day that you've made, for your blessings in our lives, which are innumerable, for this opportunity we have to gather this evening to engage in community business. We pray for those that lead us. We ask for your wisdom to abound in their hearts and lives, and that you would lead us in the direction that is pleasing to you and is beneficial to our community. And we thank you for those that serve us in so many capacities in this blessed community, our first responders. We continue to ask you, Lord, to stand between them and harm's way as they stand between us and harm's way, and that you continue to make us a community that is pleasing in your sight. And we offer all these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, September 10th, 2018 to order. And if the city clerk, Dawn, if you'd please call the roll and make general announcements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will be happy to call roll for the September 10th, 2018 regular City Council meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to provide public comment are required to complete a public comment card before speaking on the item. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the cards were received prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization. The City Council may allow public comment on an agenda item or general public comment from a representative of an organized group or association, provided the individual has filed a notarized affidavit that they have the authority to speak on behalf of the organization. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Coons.
Here.
Councilmember Laura Bentley. Here. Councilmember Joe Longoria.
Here.
Councilmember Rick Morrick.
Here.
This evening, we are honored to have the Sons of the American Revolution lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please rise?
To the front, come on. Ready? Go. To the right, face. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the right, to the left face, to the front, line. Ready? Go. To the left face.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. It's always an honor to have the Sons of the American Revolution here tonight. Okay, Dawn, if you would please sound the next item, which is approval of the agenda.
Approval of the meeting agenda, agenda item number 18247.
Okay, I'd like to ask that we move the item consideration of a resolution appointing a member to the City of Milton Board of Zoning Appeals for District 1, Post 1, agenda item number 18-259. Move that from new business to right before reports and presentation. Are there any other agenda items that anybody has? Okay, I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda items as amended.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, Councilmember Kuntz, second from Councilmember Bentley on the agenda for approval with the alteration that I read out into the record. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, Don. Okay. John, do we have any public comment cards?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. Next item is general public comment. The public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes for the remarks. So, Dawn, if you'd please call the public comment speakers.
Stacy Wells O'Neill.
Good evening, council members. I'm Stacy Wells O'Neill. I'm assisting my family in their decisions on Fields Crossroads, the 88-acre property at the corner of Bethany and Providence Roads.
Ms. O'Neill, excuse me, and sorry to break in, but just for the record, could you state your address?
36 Surrey Lane, Durham, North Carolina, 27707.
All right, thank you.
First, I want to thank you for your stewardship of the Green Space Bond monies. For the better part of 2 years, my family has been committed to the Green Space Initiative, buying the bonds, holding out for the chance to sell to the city and leave a legacy to the Milton community. Second, I want you to know that this property is very special. The Georgia Conservancy, as your consultant, placed this property amongst their highest priorities according to your bond criteria. Walking on the old logging road on this property is like taking a step back in time. Historically, this was the site of a former country store and the homestead of the Homer S. Fields family. Over the past 40 years, the creeks, lake, and woods have become a natural habitat to all sorts of wildlife. Its proximity to Providence Parks makes it a convenient location to link into the larger Milton trail map. I know that some of you have walked the property, but some of you have not, and that is a shame because it's truly a magical place. Finally, we fear that the beauty and uniqueness that the Georgia Conservancy recognized in this property will be lost to political processes if the city does not take action soon. Commercial interest in the property will likely prevail if this lingers for even a few more months. For example, the viewshed abutting Bethany Road will almost certainly be in short order sold, and this will be a loss for the citizens of Milton. I'm here to respectfully ask you to consider moving on this opportunity before some of the magic is gone, when some of it will be sold to the highest bidder. Again, thank you for your time and thank you for your hard work on this initiative.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any more public comments?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, I'll close public comment, and we'll move on to the consent agenda. Dawn, if you'll please sound those items.
Our consent agenda items this evening are the approval of the August 20th regular City Council meeting minutes, agenda item number 18248. Approval of the August 27th special called City Council meeting minutes, agenda item number 18249. Approval of a contract with Galls, LLC for the provision of uniforms and related personnel equipment for Milton Fire and Rescue, agenda item number 18250. Next is the approval of change order number 1 to the professional services agreement between the City of Milton and Atlas Geographic Data for cadastral conversion services, agenda item number 18251. Our fifth consent agenda item is the approval of an agreement between the City of Milton and Crabapple Merchant Association regarding responsibilities and obligations related to the co-hosting of Crabapple Fest, agenda item number 18252. Our sixth and final consent agenda item this evening is the approval of the following subdivision plat. Big Sky Stables, land lots 987 and 1030, located at 13200 Bethany Road. Minor plat revision, 3 lots, 7.53 total acres, 0.39 lots per acre. Agenda item number 18253.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Morrig. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. Under the approval of the meeting agenda, we moved this item number 18-259 before reports and presentations. So, Dawn, if you'll please sound the item on this resolution appointing the member to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay. This is the consideration of a resolution appointing a member to the City of Milton Board of Zoning Appeals for District 1, Post 1, agenda item number 18259.
Okay. Councilmember Jamison.
Sure.
This is your appointment.
Yep, Mayor and Council, I'd like to appoint Jason Cole to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Jason and his wife Lauren have been longtime residents of Milton. They graduated from Milton High School. They now live here. He owns Cole Construction and has 3 wonderful children, and I'd like to appoint him to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay. Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Jason Cole to the Board of Zoning Appeals, District 1, Post 1.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Kuntz with a second from Councilmember Morrig. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. And if Mr. Cole will step forward, then we will proceed to swear him in. One thing I did learn, whenever you're swearing somebody in and you read it to them and they listen, if you look them straight in the eyes when they're speaking, they get messed up. You gotta look down. And Jason, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties of the Board of Zoning Appeals member of the city, and that I will support and defend the charter thereof, as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia and the United States of America. Thank you very much. And if you will stand here. Right there. And as always, we appreciate all of our volunteers, and that's what really makes Milton a great place. So thank you for your absolutely time and effort. So it's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Do we want to, Council, want to join me? We'll take a picture real quick.
I was seeing if I could do it without standing on the ladder. One, two. All right, thank you.
Okay, if we'll move on to reports and presentations, Dawn, if you will please sound the first item.
Tonight we have proclamations recognizing Constitution Week, presented to the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Children of the American Revolution, Martha Stewart Bullock Society, the Patriots of Liberty Chapter, and the Sons of the American Revolution Piedmont Chapter, presented by Mayor Joe Lockwood.
And I just want to say we're honored to have the members of all the chapters represented here tonight. So after I read the presentation, the proclamation, if you guys would please step forward and accept these proclamations. So I have a proclamation for Constitution Week 2018. Whereas the Constitution of the United States, the guardian of our liberties, is a product of reflection and choice, embodying the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule of law, not by men, And whereas September 17th, 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this memorial anniversary and to the patriotic exercises that will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issue of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. This Constitution Week, we, the City of Milton, urge all citizens to study the Constitution and to express gratitude for the privilege of American citizenship in our republic, functioning under the superb body of laws, the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Milton, proclaim the week of September 17th, 2018 through September 23rd, 2018 as Constitution Week in the City of Milton, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. And if the council would join me and everybody would step forward to receive this proclamation. We hope. She's not going to take a picture of that.
I know, she's going to rearrange us here in a second. I'm just going to hold my breath and wait for it.
Is that okay?
What's that?
Can you rearrange it?
I mean,
I don't know. They just said they were going to be rearranged.
no. I think
Okay.
we're good.
Go for it.
I'm waiting for each.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, wait a minute.
The daughters of the American Revolution. So.
I want to rearrange myself.
Raise your hand if you're a daughter.
I thought y'all were children. Daughters?
We have plenty to do this yet.
Children?
Daughter?
Children? Any more children?
Lucky.
Any more children? I think I got the only child.
Okay.
So the rest would have to be that, I guess. Sorry, Ken, that was incredibly rude. You need to shove that in your face.
I get everybody? Will you do this somewhere here? Right back in here.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Take another, this other camera. This one ready to go. Is there an on button on your camera? Oh, on, off, right. Gotcha. I wish it was more obvious. On, off. Pretty good. Okay.
Hold on. I just have 2 more cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, this one doesn't quite get everybody. There we go. Thank you, guys.
It's a privilege to have you here tonight. Thank you for all coming out. Thank you for
We have all kinds of extras.
Nice to meet you too, Rick. Great, great. Thank you.
It's a debate topic. They arrange the flags in the proper order.
We've had this
We
argument
argue
before.
that there are multiple proper orders.
Actually, what we need to do is we need to cut.
All right, Sudie, if you, I'm sorry, Dawn, if you would please read the next agenda item.
This is an oath of office being presented to firefighter paramedic Chelsea McDonald, presented by Fire Chief Robert Edgar.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce the Fire Department's newest member, Chelsea McDonald. Chelsea grew up in the Rome area and graduated from Oglethorpe University, where she received her Bachelor's of Science degree in Business and Economics. Chelsea also played college basketball and earned a trip to the NCAA Division III Final Four in 2008. Chelsea is a state-certified paramedic and recently completed the Fire Academy, where she earned the Pinnacle Award. This is the highest award given for outstanding performance and character. Chelsea will be a great addition to our department as well as the Milton community. And if I'd ask Chelsea to come on up, and Mayor, if you wouldn't mind administering the oath of office, and Chelsea's sister, Ashley Callahan, will actually do the pinning.
If you would raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
State your name.
I, Chelsea McDonald,
Swear and affirm
swear and affirm
that I am qualified to hold the position
that I'm qualified to hold the position
of firefighter to which I am appointed,
of firefighter which I'm appointed,
and for so long as I am employed with the city of Milton,
as for long as I am employed with the city of Milton.
for so long as I am
For
employed.
so long.
I do solemnly swear and affirm
I do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Georgia,
and the Constitution of the State of Georgia.
and I will faithfully perform
I will faithfully perform
and discharge the duties of
and discharge the duties of
my position conscientiously and without malice
my position conscientiously and without malice
or partiality to the best of my ability.
or partiality to the best of my ability.
I further swear and affirm
I further swear and affirm
to obey,
to obey,
to adhere
to adhere
to uphold, and to enforce the laws
to uphold and enforce the laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the state of Georgia,
the state of Georgia,
and the city of Milton at all times.
and the city of Milton at all times.
I further swear and affirm
I further swear and affirm
that I will bear the true faith
that I will bear the true faith
and allegiance to the city of Milton
and allegiance to the city of Milton
and the officers appointed
and the officers appointed
over me accordingly to the law.
over me accordingly to the
So help me God.
of law to so help me God.
Okay. I want to congratulate and welcome you here, and we're proud and glad to have you. And it goes without saying, not only Chelsea, but everybody else that wears a uniform or has worn a uniform. We owe a heartfelt gratitude that you guys are there protecting us, and a lot of us are strangers, but you're putting our citizens in front of yourself. So we sincerely appreciate it. So if council wants to join me down here, maybe get a picture after your sister Benji. Okay. Dawn, if you would please read the next item.
Our next item is a proclamation recognizing a group of committed volunteers for their work to address food insecurity in North Fulton. This is being presented by Councilmember Matt Koontz.
All right. Is Brent Miller here? Real quick. Brent Miller, raise your hand. There you are, Gossam. There you are. You can sit down. So, it's my honor to present this proclamation tonight. You know, folks in Milton may think that hunger is a problem in other places, but did you know that there are men, women, and children in North Fulton County who do not have adequate food on a daily basis? Tonight's proclamation is in honor of a young man, Brent Miller, who's going for the scout rank of Eagle, who saw this problem and decided to do something about it for his Eagle project. It connected home gardeners and charities that provide food for those in need. So if you are a home gardener and this is your first you've heard of Growers Connection and the good work that they do, please consider contacting them if you find yourself overflowing with any abundance. So I'll read this and then let's all get together with the council. Join me for another picture. So whereas there are people in North Fulton who experience limited or uncertain access to adequate food, and whereas at the same time home gardens often provide an excess of produce beyond what the gardeners can easily use, and whereas Brent Miller, an Eagle Scout candidate from Troop 429, decided to focus his Eagle project on combating food insecurity by linking home and private gardeners with the means to donate their excess produce, and whereas upon obtaining his Eagle Scout rank, Brent created Growers Connection, a charity with the motto, grow some, give some, that partners with local schools, communities, and home gardens to collect and transport excess produce to local food banks for distribution to those in need. And whereas staff and volunteers from Birmingham Falls Elementary School have created a school garden, providing students hands-on gardening experience to supplement classroom learning. And whereas after certifying the garden as a butterfly habitat and pollinator garden, the students and volunteers decided to partner with Growers Connection to plant a vegetable and fruit garden. And whereas a dedicated group of staff, parents, students, and neighbors helped maintain the school's garden over the summer. And whereas these volunteers included Brian Bush, Haley Bush, Tamara DeGeorgis, Tanya Fields Green, Carries Green, Christopher Green, Elia Green, Kevin Green, Sophia Green, Trina Green, Sonny Kuramov, Amy Lample, Joe Lample, Amber Maxey, Kennedy Maxey, Tracy Newton, Clayton Veloff, Michelle Veloff, Patrick Veloff, Richard Veloff, and RJ Veloff. And I apologize if I missed any of that. And whereas the hard work of these volunteers resulted in Birmingham Falls Elementary School donating over 167 pounds of produce from the school garden thus far for the 2018 summer. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, hereby recognize and thank Brent Miller and Growers Connection, as well as the dedicated staff and the volunteers at Birmingham Falls Elementary School for giving graciously of their time in the service of providing fresh, nutritious produce for those in need. Given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia on this 10th day of September 2018. And if everybody would come down and take a picture.
See all that work? Man, that's awesome. 160 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Take one. There you go.
so do our citizens to get involved and volunteer and take on a task and make our city and the world a better place. So thank you guys for everything you've done. All right, John, if you'd please sound our final item under reports and presentations tonight.
This is a presentation regarding occupation tax presented by Sarah Ladart, Economic Development Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are here tonight to ask for input and direction on the restructuring of our occupational tax, and just so occupation, same thing as a business license. With the finance department, Bernadette, Wendy, Brandy, and I have been working on this and want to ensure that we're going in the right direction and get y'all's input. During a recent review of Milton's current occupational tax structure, we identified several areas of opportunity that would allow us to streamline the application process, ensure accountability, and support the vision of the city through unique incentives. Currently, when you fill out the application, there are 4 options. You're either gross receipts, no gross receipts, so then you're based on your number of employees, home-based, and then professional practitioners. So what we're proposing now to streamline the application process is that all Milton businesses would be assessed based on gross receipts with a $7 per employee fee. And then they would be required to submit their profit and loss statement as well as their Georgia income tax return. Currently, they're already required to do the P&L and income tax return per our ordinance. It's just not something that's really enforced right now. Professional practitioners would remain at the $400 a year. That's a state rule. And then nonprofits would continue to be exempt from having to pay an occupational tax. The incentives that we've come up with, the first one is a $20,000 standard deduction given to all businesses. When we looked at our neighbors, that was pretty standard that everybody was offering that kind of flat $20,000 deduction. The second is with 10 or fewer employers, which is verified on your private employer affidavit that you have to submit anyways. If you have less than 10 and you're leasing office space or you own office space, offering a $100 deduction per square foot. We realized that we were unintentionally incentivizing home-based businesses by charging a flat fee for home-based businesses when one of our economic development objectives is to maximize available commercial capacity in appropriately defined areas. Therefore, we've developed this unique deduction in an effort to encourage the purchase or lease of brick and mortar buildings. So for an entity with 1,500 square feet of leased or purchased office space, that would equal a $150,000 deduction. And then we can go to this example here. This bottom one, this
will you go back to how much? I thought it was $100.
$100 per square foot.
Per square foot.
$100, yep.
Got it.
Okay. The one on the bottom, the home-based consulting service with the $250,000 in gross receipts, that's the one I'm going to be talking about. Right now, across the board, $175 no matter what. With our proposed calculation, that would increase to $459. But if you look at that same consulting service that is in a brick and mortar right now, their 218 calculation is roughly $485. So it really evens the playing field. And with the break-even gross receipts column, at $77,000, if that is their gross receipts, they would still be paying that $175. So that shows that they really are making quite a bit of money, and it should be more equitable between the people as a home-based business versus a brick and mortar. And then we'll go back to the other slide. The third incentive that we have is for if you have a current CUVA through Fulton County, a $5,000 deduction for each acre of land under that CUVA that you also have a business license for. Milton's vision statement includes respect for our heritage while guiding our future. So we want the equestrian and agricultural business to continue to thrive in Milton and recognize their importance in sustaining the character of the city. So for example, a business with 20 acres would be eligible for a $100,000 deduction. And then we just have the examples. So if you look at this, this is really helping the smaller businesses. Our large, big box, $55 million, $300 employees, that will increase a little bit, but it's going to help our smaller retailers with the lower gross receipts, as well as the equestrians. It'll lower theirs if they have the appropriate acreage and number of employees. And then with the home-based, these are our top 4 home-based NAICS codes in the city. So that's why we chose those 4 to showcase here. And it just shows the increase from the proposed calculations, but then also that break even. So you see that they're making a significant amount of money, and it's still only being charged that $175 right now. But that's what we're looking to do. And we know that you guys are the council. You have businesses in Milton, and you have the expertise to help us really go in the right direction. So that's what we're here today to ask for.
Okay.
Yes.
So Sarah, if we were to make the change that you're suggesting, what's the increase in revenue to the city overall?
So we're a little unclear about that because we're now going to be requesting people to turn in their proof of their gross receipts.
Right.
So we're hoping that by having that proof of gross receipts, and that should increase the amount people are paying on, but then we're offering the incentives to, and so hopefully it'll kind of even it out, but it'll make it more equitable across the board.
So if you were to try to, because I think you said at the very beginning, you've created some kind of incentive to do something that you don't think we want to do as a city. And so you're trying to level out what's being charged to certain businesses within the city. Is there an easier way of getting to this? The reason I'm suggesting it that way is I don't really see this as a big revenue increase for the city. I don't think at least that's what we're trying to accomplish. So if that's not what we're trying to accomplish, I would just want to make it simple.
Can I jump in?
And submitting forms and everything else to me just makes it complicated.
So the occupational tax or the business licenses, they're synonymous or designed to only do one thing, and that's bring in revenue. It's not an administrative fee. It's not a regulation fee. It's just like tax. It's a revenue. And the goal behind this and what they're trying to accomplish is to increase our revenue. We're forecasting an increase in revenue in our business licenses in 2019. I anticipate we'll have another one in 2020 over 2019. It's a function of getting out there and trying to ensure compliance with our current regulations. It's also a function of the building of some of our commercial capacity that you're seeing out here. We did recognize that two entities operating the same exact business, one being in a home, one deciding to do it out of their home office and one deciding to rent a place over here. The one that was renting the place over here was being disincentivized by our current structure. So what this is designed to do is to encourage. It's not going to make or break. None of this is going to make or break any of these businesses. These are. I doubt that any of these businesses are going to be so sensitive to the adjustment of $125 based on $250,000 in revenue that it's going to make a difference in whether they're going to come here or they're going to go to a neighboring city. But when you compound this, it does turn into real revenue. Currently, in 2019, I don't have this off the top of my head. What are we looking at, Bernadette, for 2019? Do you recall? Okay, it's not insignificant revenue, and even the increase wouldn't be insignificant. And kind of what we talked about last week, when we did our budget presentation, our current fiscal policy dictates that we are supposed to find other sources of revenue before we use our taxing authority for property tax. So that's exactly what we're trying to explore. We're trying to explore all those other opportunities for us to bring in revenues, so we rely less and less on our property tax levy. And this is just one. There's over the next several months, there's going to be many more brought up before you.
So do you see this increase in revenue as an opportunity for us to provide more service to those businesses that are paying for that?
No, this is the occupational tax is not pegged to services delivered to those businesses. It's entirely about revenue. That's what it is.
Okay.
In 2018, we're projecting $780,000, and 2019 is about $30,000 more than that.
But I think the intent is to level the playing field a little bit and also compare with the way some of our sister cities are doing. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Couple questions. So I noticed in the presentation, the home-based businesses seem to get hit the most, I guess, on a percentage basis. Mm-hmm. And so my thought is, we all know most home-based businesses don't even apply. And so if they come in and see, my fees going to go up 30 or 40%, don't you, I would assume a lot of those home-based businesses would not even say, I don't operate a business anymore, So I'm worried that they might be able to game the system like that. And then as far as reporting stuff, I know I talked to you about this earlier, having the P&L and the tax return, the P&L should just go away because those you can easily change those without, the verifiable data is in the tax return, right. Which is, you always want to care about the gross receipts. And, I personally have, since I'm a business owner here, handing over my tax return to the city, I understand why I have to give it to you, and I understand why you have to verify the gross receipts, but it's everything else on the tax return. Social Security numbers, how much I pay my employees, and pension expenses and stuff like that. I kind of get a little sensitive on every business owner now has to give over everything. If we could streamline this and if it's all encrypted, I could maybe feel a little better. I don't know how the process is going to go.
That makes sense. The gross revenues, depending on what your entity is on the bottom of your Schedule C or whatever it is, we'd be able to pull that off without having to necessarily see all the other information. I don't know what our current ordinance states if we need a certified copy of a tax return or something along those lines, but I'm sure we can simplify the system without having to create. We don't want that information on file. I don't want someone's Social Security numbers here either. So maybe it would be something as simple as coming in, filling out your paperwork, showing the bottom of your Schedule C or whatever it is. Yeah,
something just to streamline it for these business owners. I know you talked about it was going to go online and stuff, which is great. So, those were just my kind of two things, was the less stuff that us as business owners have to fill out. I like that deduction. I think it does give it an incentive, but then you have to go look at, you have to require your lease or survey or something. Then it's just another thing we have to turn over. So that was just my 2 cents.
Bernadette and I discussed the tax return and all that, and we had a question for the attorney. We wouldn't be able to disclose that. That's not open records requestable.
No, it's actually,
right?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, confidential tax information.
Right, so that wouldn't be open.
I know, it's just like a big government type.
Right. And then we were discussing, as we move forward, actually looking at somebody's tax return and seeing which page it is that we would need, because we don't know that.
Right.
So as we move forward with this process, figuring out what exactly singular thing we need, not the entire thing.
And you're saying like that profit and loss report, I can go into QuickBooks and say 0, and here you go. So that was my thought.
I got a question on that, and I think Laura's got one, but, could it be as simple as a form that's, maybe a certified form from your CPA or whatever, that this is your gross receipts and, some kind of hold somebody accountable to it, but that way you're not bringing a whole tax return in and
or instead of like having every business owner, because I know how it is like on the deadline day, to where it's already in our code. So it might be one of those things where, if Kohl's comes in and says their gross receipts are $100,000 for the year, I think, you can always ask for. It can always be asked upon, I guess.
Right.
So you're not looking at every single one. You can spot check them or something. I don't know. Just throwing it out there for less work. I don't know.
Okay. Laura.
Yeah, I just thank you for this analysis, and I appreciate the equestrian ag use being incorporated. 36% of our land use is there. So I'd like to take a deeper dive into, understanding more of the details. For example, a lot of times there'll be a home on a farm. Whether or not it's occupied by that owner is sometimes the case, sometimes not. So my goal would be, as I'm sure yours is to, incentivize the continuation of our ag businesses. And so I really like the idea. I think we do need to, start. It's a great time to start the CUVA education program. And this might be a great way to get some feedback from the large parcel owners that are running businesses.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Rick?
Yeah, sir, can you take me through why it's based? I guess the actual occupational tax, what's assessed, is going to be based upon gross receipts versus profitability, or what if someone has a high cost business, so they could have great gross receipts, total gross receipts, but you've got expenses that offset that?
Oh, there's a whole list of things that get taken off the gross receipts. So you have your gross receipts, and I can get that to you.
Okay.
You don't just, if you make $1 million, but you're spending $500,000 on contractors and another
Right.
quarter, that's all taken off before that final
You show
number.
me that too?
Pardon?
will you
Yeah,
show
I can,
me? Okay.
yeah. There's a whole list of things.
I just think that would be a
Right.
concern from a number of small home-based businesses who maybe their net profit is not really that much, but they're saying, okay, I'm going to get now tax on my gross receipts. That would be a concern. I know that would be a concern I'd have, is I want to see how the formula works out versus what I'm paying today as a home-based business.
State law has there's like a couple categories in which you can charge in gross receipts in a certain ratio or two. Then there's nothing about profit. And there are, we will get for you, like Sarah said, bullet points of exactly what is not and what is gross receipts. It kind of sounds a little different than what it is. You can reduce subcontractor costs and other things. But gross receipts is the state's way of assessing the fee.
Yeah, I propose, before we actually bring this forward to a vote, we have a work session, we widely publicize it, so you get home-based businesses within the city have a chance to come to ask questions, to participate, because if we just impose a new tax without vetting this and actually getting input from our citizens, I think that's going to be just the opposite of what we want out of this.
I'd like to also suggest that just comparables to what other cities are doing and what those models look like.
We have that. We can send that to you as well.
Awesome.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
This isn't a new tax.
No.
This is a modification of an existing one.
Yes.
Okay.
Increased tax, I guess.
I just wanted to make sure everybody underheard
Thank
that.
you.
In several cases, it'll be decreased as well.
Right. It's more the process, though.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, Dawn, if you'll please sound the first presentation items.
Our first presentation items are the consideration of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, to adopt amendments to the fiscal 2018 budget for each fund of the City of Milton, Georgia, amending the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, amending the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. Agenda item number 18254. The consideration of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, to adopt the fiscal 2019 budget for each fund of the City of Milton, Georgia, appropriating the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, adopting the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. Agenda item number 18255. Next is the consideration of RZ 1812, Article 6, Division 18, C1 Community Business District, as it relates to gas stations. Agenda item number 18256. The consideration of an ordinance to amend Appendix A, Fees and Other Charges for Chapter 18, Article 4, Monitored Alarm Systems. Agenda item number 18257. And our fifth item is the consideration of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, to amend Appendix A, Fees and Other Charges for Chapter 52, Taxation. Agenda item number 18258.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the first presentation items as read.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion of approval from Councilmember Bentley, the second from Councilmember Longoria. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous with Councilmember Morrig stepping out. Okay, so Let's move on to our public hearing. John, if you'll please sound the first item.
This is the consideration of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, to adopt the fiscal 2019 budget for each fund of the City of Milton, Georgia, appropriating the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, adopting the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. Agenda item number 18255. This item was discussed at the August 13th City Council work session, and the first presentation was at tonight's meeting. Bernadette Harville.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening we are here for the first of two required public hearings on the proposed FY 2019 budget. As you will recall, we had a comprehensive work session on the proposed budget back on August 13th. That presentation was based on a millage rate of 4.731 mils. After the adoption of the rolled back rate of 4.39 mils, the budget proposal was updated. In addition, staff completed their year-end request for 2018's budget. The document in tonight's packet includes both the updated property tax revenues as well as the amendments pending your approval on September 24th. As such, I'll be focusing this discussion on the changes that have occurred since the work session, as well as an overview of the new initiative requests before you. If you have any questions about continuing operations, I'll be happy to address them as well at the end. This year, staff is focused on creating a comprehensive GFOA-compliant budget book. A budget book provides additional information to the public regarding Milton's policies, procedures, and practices. It is our hope that the additional information provided will help create a clear guide that one can look to in order to understand the proposed budget that staff has prepared. A big thank you goes out to Shannon Ferguson in communications and our graphic designer, Lori Conan, for their help in making this possible in such a short time frame. We will begin this discussion by talking about the general fund, which accounts for all the maintenance and operation revenues and expenditures for the city. The revenue projections for the amended fiscal year 2018 budget increased total revenues by $985,575. That, coupled with a reduction of $293,786 in FY19 to account for the millage rate rollback, has changed the year-over-year variance from 6% to 1.3%. Some of the significant increases in revenue in FY18 included $335,000 to our lost revenue line, $227,588 to current year property taxes, $105,000 to business and occupation taxes, $80,000 to franchise fees, and $62,000 for investment income. Overall, the three tax categories at top are projected to increase, while our other revenue categories are shown in an anticipated decrease. Again, staff is working on finding other revenue sources to offset those reliance on property taxes. Here we'll move on to the expenditures. As revenue projections for 2018 increased, so did some of the department budgets. This in turn changed some of the variances between FY18 and FY19 in the expenditures section of the summary. I'd like to remind you that this budget proposal includes a 3% across the board market adjustment for staff, a 10% increase for medical insurance premium projections, and a 5% increase for dental, vision, and risk insurance for the city. Here we'll see a proposed investment in IT, which will be seen mostly in initiatives, but it also is shown here in a 7.8% increase to the M&O initiative, to the M&O continuing operating budget. This increase is down from the discussion we had back in August due to a request to fund the current professional services contract with InterDev in FY18. This contract has provided the city with guidance related to current IT setup, as well as the creation of an IT-specific strategic plan. The M&O increase is being driven by costs related to maintenance contracts for records management and audiovisual security system enhancements in City Hall, as well as ongoing software and hardware replacements. Also, as you know, FY 2019 will account for a full 12 months of operating expenses here at City Hall. That, along with other smaller increases to contracted labor rates, result in the 12.6% increase you can see here to the General Government Buildings Department. The large decrease seen in the city clerk's department is a direct result of the way the current IGA with Fulton County requires the city to pay for elections. I would like to call your attention to the overall increases you see at the bottom. The 5.3% increase from FY18 to FY19 consists of $1,185,955. Of that, $900,294 are related to the required 1% contingency in the general fund, as well as a new initiative request we're about to go over in a moment. Of the overall 23.6% increase, $4,392,006 is attributable to the return to a fully funded PAYGO program in this capital improvement plan, which was deferred in FY18 as a result of the decision to change the year in which the city would account for property taxes. Again, the budget for FY19 will be balanced with a use of $715,635 in unrestricted fund balance. Now moving on to our M&O initiatives. Before you will see all the requests per department for enhanced or improved services. The City Clerk's Department is looking to obtain an electronic voting system. This system would allow those in the audience as well as Mayor and Council to review votes as you make them, as opposed to having the aye and nay system. You will also see the request for 4 part-time specialists within finance, municipal court, the police department, and Parks and Rec. This is to help alleviate the increased workload we have seen in those departments over the last couple of years with the increased activity of the city. IT is asking for $46,600 for the maintenance and operating related activities to the IT infrastructure improvements that we are requesting in order to get the city more secure and able to be more transparent to the community. The communications department, along that transparency category, is looking to get a social media archiving software which will allow for more proactive open records requests for social media comments and activity. They are also asking for a full-time public relations specialist to help with the increased workload in being able to have a dynamic communications department. The police department is looking to get an in-car camera upgrade and the body-worn cameras. This is a 5-year lease for $57,600 a year. They're also looking to get 2 part-time public safety officers. These officers would be utilized during high traffic times throughout the city at certain congestion corridors in hopes to move the traffic, as that is one of the city's largest complaints we're receiving from citizens. Both police and public works have requests for Motorola radio replacements. This will bring the city into compliance with the TDMA type radios that are required through the North Fulton Regional Radio System Authority. The fire department is asking for a T-layer Paratech bipod. This is a mechanism that will help them save both animals and humans in certain tight situations that only this technology can get them that. The IPIMBA instructor is a trainer for the bicycle, fire, and police squads, and that would be a training to enhance and have more of those officers and firefighters available on the bicycles. They're also asking to have a fire and rescue citizens academy. This would be just like our citizens government academy, but focused solely on the fire department and what they are doing for the citizens. Lastly, they're asking for a paperless station tracking system, which would go along with being able to report out in the field instead of having to write everything down and come back and type it back up when they get in-house. Public Works is looking for an enhanced radar sign system. These signs are more portable and can be used throughout the city as opposed to having to have a 2-man crew go out and post them and then be more permanent. These are more portable. They're also asking for an emergency operations trailer. This trailer will be fully loaded with things such as cones and signs in case of an emergency, and they can head straight out, be ready to go and be deployed. The Wildflower program is a test program that they're going to utilize at the property at the roundabout at Providence, New Providence, in order to try to reduce the cost of right-of-way mowings and also enhance the beauty of the vacant land. They're going to try to plant some wildflowers there. Parks and Recreation is also looking to have a cooperative agreement with the Birmingham United Methodist Church for a field lease. We would be able to be utilizing some of the impact fees that we currently have set aside for this lease, and this would be able to increase baseball field space. Community Development is looking to update their solid waste plan. The solid waste plan is something that's required for the city as one of our requirements to being able to be a municipal city. They are also researching other ways to possibly come in under budget on this item or do it in-house. So this is a placeholder that we would have just in case it is required to have a consultant come in. Lastly, we have the multi-departmental requests. As City Manager Krokoff went over in the last meeting on the 13th, there are a few different requests being made. There are reclassifications made to a couple of positions throughout different departments in order to right-size those positions that we have seen that they are operating at a different capacity than which they are currently being classified. HR has conducted a market study, and there are a handful of adjustments that are being requested to be made to positions that have been seen to be under the current market of those paid in local jurisdictions. Lastly, there's a public safety compression and education request. This is a request to bring a final solution to the issue we've been having with compression and education and paying all of our public safety personnel fairly and equitably. And then lastly, we have the request for a retiree health care insurance. This dollar amount is a placeholder to do some research into the program and bring forth further options for an opportunity to fund employee benefits after retirement, but before Medicare eligibility. So that would be for your people who are able to retire a little early, maybe at 55, and may not have access to other medical. This is in no way approving an actual plan. It's just approving the opportunity to move forward and present you a plan at another time. This year, we have proposed in front of you the new 7-year capital improvement plan. The CIP plan was altered slightly after the decision to roll back the 2018 millage rate. A decrease of $385,220 is being transferred from the general fund to current projects. The majority of this can be seen in the deferral for funding to the improvements of Providence Park. This project will receive funding of $600,000, but it will not recoup all of FY18's original deferral at this time. The interfund transfer from the general fund will go towards the PAYGO funding schedule in the budget document, the new capital initiatives we'll talk about a little later, and the required 3% contingency in the capital projects fund. This plan in front of you shows the combined schedule for the 7-year plan for all capital projects funds excluding T-SPLOST. After that, we have the traditional form you're used to seeing, which lists by department each project, the estimated project cost, what has currently been allocated to those projects, the 7-year request by funding category, and then if there's any over or under funding that may be required to be looked at in future years. And lastly, this year we focused on providing for you the 7-year magnifying glass of pay-as-you-go funding. We pulled it out of the old larger table and just kind of set it aside for you as the PAYGO program has become so popular, so you can see exactly what projects those fundings will be going towards over the 7 years. Lastly, this evening we have a capital initiative summary. The Finance Department is requesting $250,000 towards getting a replacement for our finance software to be able to go out to bid and see what else is out there for us, as we've been having a lot of trouble with our current software, and it is causing duplicative and additional work for our staff. IT is asking for those infrastructure improvements in the amount of $457,000. That would put a network in place that would be more secure and have more availability for there to be less issues also within the whole city as far as IT is concerned. The fire department is asking for a battalion vehicle in the amount of $50,000. This is outside their normal request for annual funding for vehicles, as it will be particularly for a vehicle that will replace the current one for the battalion so they can continue their cancer initiative program of not having their turnout gear within the same compartment as the driver. Public Works is asking for Crabapple pedestrian enhancements. That will be the continuation of the project we see going on here, where they would have along Crabapple Road and Heritage Walk safe pedestrian crossings. And lastly, the Parks and Recreation Department is looking to have a shared purchase with the local lacrosse teams in order to get a lacrosse practice wall. For our $20,000, the teams would chip in together and put in another $20,000 and build the wall that would enhance and increase practice space available to the teams so they can have more teams practicing at a time. Lastly, there's a request for an additional IGA field. Pending a favorable IGA agreement with the school system, the city would put in this amount of money in order to get access to another field at Milton High School that we could turn into a usable field as opposed to just a practice field for the school. On the far right-hand side, you see that $808,650 that is currently already set aside impact fee money that would go towards this, not any money that we have to wait to collect. Any other changes that you see in the budget book reflect year-over-year variances and not changes in requests to the proposal for FY 2019. So I've not included them in this evening's presentation, but if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Laura?
You raised his hand first.
Oh. So, Bernadette, the percentage increase in revenue was what percentage? 1.3?
Oh, I can go back 1.3. It's a big difference than what we first looked at.
Right, but that was our choice because we impacted our revenue by a drop in the mill rate.
That in addition to also that FY 18's revenues came in higher than anticipated. So you'll also see that FY 18's amendment is being accounted for here, where last presentation was based on April's approved amendment.
And the 353,000 was the dollar volume that represents 1.3%, correct?
That is correct.
So on the expense side, the increase was 23 point what?
23.6%. And if you look, the majority of that is that $4 million in pay-go transfer outs.
Okay, so
It's kind of a skewed, it's a funny way to look at the numbers.
but it's 5.5 million is the number that represents the 23.
Yes, sir.
That's not truly an increase in expenditures.
It's just
Right.
transfer.
Because we didn't transfer out last year.
Because last year we didn't. We're paying back the that tax revenue that we didn't get. So that's kind of like what it's doing to our revenues this year, because we have more than we thought. It's reducing our revenue increase. It makes it appear as if we are spending more, but the reality is we're not. We're just transferring more out into the pay-go system.
I just want to make sure we called attention to that because a lot of people that just casually look at what we do would see us increasing expenditures by some wild amount when our revenue was only increasing by a dribble.
Right. So this is one way to look at it. And in the budget book, we did provide a more condensed, easier to kind of see the apples to apples more. We showed what money was going towards refunding our fund balance that we had to legally get back up to, and that was about $4-point-something million. So in 18, $4-point-something million is going towards, 4.508567 is going towards getting our fund balance back to the legally 25% rate. So that's why it's looking like an increase, but we had to put that money back towards our reserves.
So you're cueing in on the same thing that I did in our conversation earlier.
Yeah.
This is exactly why I wanted to make sure we highlight this one section. It does appear that our expenditures are increasing by a significant amount, when in actuality, even the 5.3 number is inflated because 233,000 of that is contingency, which doesn't go year over year. Right. So $250,000 of that is already. It makes it appear that it's more of an expenditure, but it's not. And the other 666,000 are new initiatives. So it just it appears that the expenses are really going up when in actuality they're really not.
Okay.
But I understand exactly where you're coming from with that.
No, good. Just it's good to put it out there. Laura?
So, Bernadette, great job on this document.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the copy of it. I just have some questions. This is my first rodeo here, so I'm going to be all over the place for a little bit. Bear with me. I know. Park enrichment, great to see the partnership there. So it got me thinking about our green space acquisitions and maintenance costs. I didn't see that anywhere. Maybe it was there. I just couldn't find it.
The maintenance costs for the space we have taken on will be seen in the Parks and Recreation Department in their grounds repair maintenance and their mowings. Right now, currently, I believe all we're truly paying for is mowing of certain areas, but you'll see with the former Milton Country Club that we have other expenditure line items related to the pool, so it's all within the Parks and Rec Department general fund budget. Okay. Now, his budget did go down because he found some savings in other areas, so it may not be jumping out to you.
Okay. And just in general, as we move forward and close this, finish spending this money within the next 2.5 years, maintenance and, making the what we acquire usable, I just would ask that we might look at that. I think that will be an expectation of our citizens. Skipping now to the IT, certainly looks like it's a very important project, and I support that. I would just like to encourage us to look at, how we got to this situation, and how we can maybe have a more graceful migration in the future to a new platform and do it, in a manner that is predicted and planned for. I would like to see, I know we're working with a consultant, maybe we can have some tangible measures as far as timelines and cost-benefit analysis to, it's a big expenditure, and I know that's probably forthcoming. So another question in that area is the content-driven management system, and you might not be able to answer this, but my hope is that directly affects our customer interface via our website.
That's exactly why we're doing it.
Okay. Because that's, at least where I'm sitting, that's the number one issue that's brought to my attention is user interface and the need to make it more user-friendly, easier to update, all of those things. Let's see. I have a question. I think we're still doing our billing for assuming that we pass the homestead exemption this year. That's going to be a more complicated billing situation. And so I think the plans are still being evaluated, but hopefully we'll do that in-house still.
We've done the cost-benefit analysis. I can't find a way that supports outsourcing it.
Okay.
We want to, but financially it's not the right move.
And so that's my next question. The part-time revenue specialist, do you anticipate that person being able to assist with the tax bills when they become more cumbersome?
They can. Probably that specific individual will probably be spending more face time at the window. And then the person that is currently there now would probably be taking on a little bit of a larger role as a result of freeing up that time. But yes, someone will be taking up that extra slack. But we've always had that. And at tax time, we end up in a situation where we get overwhelmed. But that new calculation is also likely going to drive the need for new software, which is also baked into this budget.
So that's in the budget?
It is.
Okay. Great.
And in our cost-benefit analysis, that was baked into that too, at $250,000, and we still are nowhere near anything directing us to outsource it.
Okay, great. Special event funding, the hotel motel tax, I was confused there because it was decreased by $20,000. Is that something?
Let me see if I have something right in front of me to go to for you. So the hotel motel tax fund was set to decrease, I believe, by it was $5,000 or $6,000. So the transfer out to the special events fund stays at that. The general fund is no longer sending over additional money to the special event funds because they were growing a fund balance. So we are going to utilize the growing fund balance to balance this year's budget. But that doesn't preclude us from being able to do additional transfers in future years if events continue to be so popular.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you. And this is really detailed, but I'm confused about we have a Fire Station 41, and Fire Station 42 is the one that's that's budgeted to be replaced.
So Fire Station 42's replacement is budgeted within the revenue bond fund. It is not shown here because it is not a FY19 request. It is a carryover from a request you guys approved in April on the amendment. So pending the fact that probably we won't have it issued by September 30th, that budget line item for the revenue and the expenditure will roll over into 19. So you're not seeing it here, but yes, 42 is the one budgeted for replacement.
Okay, but there's a roof repair for 41? Is that right?
41 has a remainder of budget left over from a roof repair. Believe is Chief Edgar still here? I get confused between which one needed the roof. I'm sorry.
I about to say you can't get stumped. That's
I was on a roll. That roof,
41 or 42?
They had two different roofs in there, and the roof got replaced.
No, it was a nice picture, and it needs to be done. I just want to make sure
We're
I
not
understand.
spending significant dollars on 42. We're duct taping the building together until we knock it down.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
It's just contingency money in the event that we have a roof failure is all that's for.
That you fix it okay.
If we can put a Band-Aid on it until we replace it, as the city manager said, there's no intention of putting a new roof or anything like that.
That was my question.
We do realize that there's a possibility that we could have a failure, so.
Okay. We replaced 41.
And we did 41 this fiscal year. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, I just wanted to show Councilman Longoria a different lens of looking at this. When you actually take the budgeted fund balance use and the additions to fund balance into consideration, you get a 3.8% increase to both. It's kind of a different lens of looking at compared to the way we lay out the general fund summary. Less alarming.
That does look a lot better.
Less alarming. I should have presented that first. It's first in the book.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment, Dawn?
No, sir, there's not.
All right, I'll close the hearing then. Any more discussion from council? Again, thank you for the detailed presentation. There's no items on our zoning agenda, so we'll move on to unfinished business. Dawn, if you'll please sound the next item under unfinished business.
This is the consideration of an ordinance of the City of Milton, Chapter 56, Article 4, revise and update truck weight and length restrictions on city roads to designate truck routes and for related purposes. Agenda item number 18241. This item was discussed at the August 13th City Council work session. First presentation was at the August 20th regular City Council meeting. Police Chief Rich Alston and Sarah Leaders, Transportation Engineer.
Greetings, Mayor, Member of Council. The Police Department and the Public Works Department often receive citizen feedback regarding traffic congestion and traffic safety on our roadways. So staff has been exploring innovative ways to address these concerns through a three-pronged approach of education, enforcement, and engineering. And through this process, one untapped resource discovered was the utilization of truck routes. As you may know, Alpharetta just revamped their truck route ordinance, and we saw an opportunity to create a route that unites with Alpharetta's as well as our other neighboring jurisdictions. So before you today is a proposal for a change to the current truck route ordinance. A little bit about the history and scope. The city adopted a truck route ordinance back in June of 2007, but no specific route was ever set. So truck route basically directs large trucks to the city in a manner that is conducive to safe travel. It also curbs the use of our city streets as cut-throughs for these large vehicles and discourages the parking of these vehicles in neighborhoods not designed for that type of vehicle storage or parking. This ordinance may be revised as deemed necessary by the police department with the approval of this body, with the entire list requiring renewal every 2 years. So why establish truck routes? To help trucks avoid these residential areas and other streets that weren't designed for the types of vehicles that they're driving. To help reduce traffic congestion by guiding these vehicles over to our state routes and city roadways that are just better designed for this type of vehicle travel. And also to provide a safe and efficient connective routes for commercial truck travel and to reduce the negative impact on our community, including our city's infrastructure. So the proposed changes is to establish the designated truck route throughout the city and designate that trucks weigh more than 36,000 pounds or over 30 feet in length will be required to use these designated truck routes. And a biennial versus a biannual review, which is in the ordinance as it stands now, which would put it before you every 6 months, what we thought was a bit excessive. And I'll turn it over to Sarah Leader. She's going to talk a little bit about the actual truck route, the proposed truck route, as well as some traffic counts.
Good evening. So this is the list, and we'll go over those on the map to give a better visual of where those proposed truck routes are. So on the east side of the city, it's State Route 9 that ties into Alpharetta's truck route on State Route 9, as well as West Side Parkway that turns into Deerfield Parkway. So that connects to Alpharetta's, and then Morris Road tying into McGinnis Ferry Road. On the west side of the city, State Route 140 that ties into both Roswell and Alpharetta's truck routes, and then State Route 372. So every couple of years, we do some routine traffic counts, and as part of those, we get vehicle classes. One type is buses and trucks, which is a vehicle that's 24 to 35 feet long, and then tractor trailers are designated as over 36 feet long. So some of the roads where we've seen the highest percentage of trucks versus regular vehicles is, let's see, so we've got Freemanville Road at the city limits coming southbound, had a high percentage. Both directions on Hopewell Road at the north end of the city. Bethany Bend, both east and westbound. Providence Road heading northbound and southbound. Bethany Road heading southbound. And New Providence Road heading northbound. So those were from counts we've done where we've seen some of those higher truck percentages. In 2017, as part of the North Fulton Transportation Plan, we did a origin destination study. And as part of that, we were able to separate regular vehicle travel from commercial vehicles. Now, the commercial vehicles would include not just trucks, but any vehicle that's registered to a business. But the routes where we saw the highest number of those commercial trips that were pass-through trips that didn't begin or end in the city were Batesville Road, Birmingham Road around Freemanville Road, Hopewell at around Hamby Road, and Mayfield Road. And I'll turn it back over to Chief Austin.
So the staff recommendation is to adopt the proposed changes to the truck route ordinance, which would set forth this designated truck route that would guide these large vehicles through our city in a manner that would maximize safety and minimize the negative impacts on our infrastructure. Any questions?
Questions? Laura?
Questions. So just thought of something about, tractor trailers haul horses too. So are we going to, there's some equestrian operations in our city that use tractor trailers to move their horses to and from shows. And so just something to think about.
Right. Any commercial vehicle that has business on a road can divert from the truck route as long as they're taking the shortest path off the truck route and back onto the truck route.
As long as they have business in the city.
As long as it's not just a pass through.
Correct.
They're going to this destination.
And we have a communication plan to.
We do. We'll be pushing this out through social media and local media if this is implemented. So we'll do a strong push, and then with our trucking industry, we'll do a 45-day warning period as far as enforcement goes to help also get the word out through the industry and before we move into any type of enforcement phase.
Joe, is that? No, okay.
Yeah. So surrounding cities, they also have truck routes, I assume?
Correct.
And so in these routes connect with theirs?
Yes, they were strategically designed to be interconnected.
Okay.
And on the map you showed where they tied in with apparatus.
Right, exactly. Okay, just making sure.
Okay. All right, no more questions. I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend Chapter 56, Article 4, to revise and update truck weight and length restrictions on city roads to designate truck routes and related purposes.
Second. We've got a motion from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Longoria. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Anything the council wants to report on? Laura?
I have something. I'd like to give a shout out to Milton Police Department. I sat in on the second impact meeting, and I have to say, you guys just kill it. Anytime you get in front of our citizens, you did a fantastic job. They came because they are feeling the pressures of the crossroad, Birmingham and Birmingham, back up. They are seeing some cut through traffic and are feeling a little bit insecure as well. So Chief Austin organized a community meeting for them. It was very successful and very well attended, and they are anxious to hear about any updates to that crossroads from GDOT. I promised them I would bring that forward, but mostly I just wanted to thank our police for the excellent job that they do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? And I'll move on to staff.
Public Works.
It'll go a lot quicker now that Carter's on vacation.
So on our T-SPLOS program update, collections are still coming in good the last 5 months or so. So we're tracking at 88% now of what was projected to be received. And we're about 27% through the program now. On some project updates, concept work continues at Hopewell Bethany. I just came from the meeting. We were meeting with Bethany Oaks subdivision tonight to get feedback on that. So we're wrapping up our property owner meetings, and we'll be coming back to you all with the results of that, as well as doing some general outreach on the project. In design, we're getting ready to move into design on Hopewell Hamby, Hopewell Thompson. Remember a month or so ago, we came and brought forward the recommended concepts on those two. The Northeast Crabapple is in right-of-way and preparing to bid, should be later this month. Freedomville Providence is under construction, and GDOT has started on the turn lanes on State Route 372 at Green and then at Batesville as well. Nearing completion, we have the Morris Road at Webb Road roundabout has transitioned over to roundabout operation. The GDOT Crabapple project, understand we have about 2 more weeks left before the contractor closes out the project, but then we have to go through punch lists. So there's still some more cleanup to do, but that project, almost all the sidewalk and curb is almost in on that one. And the State Route 140 bridge, tomorrow they will be shifting traffic over to the new bridge on State Route 140. Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, fire.
Mayor, Council, just a few things here. We're watching Hurricane Florence as it approaches the East Coast, and we're preparing for any type of impact that it may have in our area if the storm changes its course. We also started reaching out to our participants for our community paramedicine program to make sure to see if they needed anything in the event the storm comes this way, as well as any other needs they may have. And on Wednesday, September 5th and Sunday, September 9th, our department members assisted the Milton High School students as well as Cambridge High School students with the placement of flags honoring those who lost their lives on September 11th. And as you're aware, there will be a memorial service tomorrow morning at Milton High School, which will be in attendance.
What time?
7:30 it begins. So. And if you remember the UTV that we purchased and recently placed in service to reach patients within Birmingham Park, well, yesterday we had that, we utilized that resource, which proved to be invaluable in reaching a person who had fallen off her horse back on the back end of the park on the Red Trail. We were able to reach that patient using the ATV or the UTV and extricating the patient, providing patient care, and bringing her out of the dark shadows of that park. So a very successful rescue there with that UTV. So again, it proved invaluable piece of equipment that we have now available to all our citizens. So, any questions?
Any questions?
Is she okay?
Yes, she actually refused to go to the hospital, and that she was going to seek her own treatment beyond that, but she was in good shape. So,
okay.
Thank you,
sir. All right, economic development.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just real quick, on Thursday, we have our second launch event where we invite all Milton businesses that are 2 years or less to come to City Hall for coffee and to meet us. We partner with MBA and CCA on that. So if any of y'all are available and want a cup of coffee and want to meet some new people from 7:30 to 8:30. And then we have Cheyenne Robinson with Buxton. She's just going to give y'all a quick update on what Buxton is going to, what they've done and what they're going to be doing for us in 2019.
Good Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Thank you very much for having me here. As Sarah mentioned, I'm your day-to-day account executive and point of contact with Buxton. Really pleased to be here and give you a high-level update. I'll try to keep it fast to be respectful of your time this evening. But I want you to understand what we've been working on. What are some of the resources that you have available to you? I work with Sarah on a weekly basis. We have calls monthly, if not more. So I want you to be aware of some of the resources that we're currently utilizing and the tools you have available through our partnership to really get beyond demographics and have that support for economic development and research, as well as our team really being that extension of your staff. Now, just as a quick reminder as to who we are and why you partnered with us in the event that anyone may not be as familiar with our company. We have over 24 years experience in working directly with retailers in site selection, and we've been working on the public sector for about 13 years and taking the reverse approach to help with business attraction and retention initiatives. Now, how we're able to be so successful with our clients is because we invest millions of dollars annually in data to understand truly who are consumers. But most importantly, you have a full team and staff at Buxton. It's not just myself and in Fort Worth, Texas. There's over 130 of us in Fort Worth actually working for the city of Milton. Well, some of the initiatives and analytics, how those are applied, you can see here from economic development to planning insights. Now, there are some other analytics or tools that we can apply that we're not currently focusing on. So if they're in the event that these are some tools that you would be interested in the future, more than happy to discuss that. But currently, we're focusing on economic development and also having tools for planning so that you can look at different areas of your community to understand those markets demographically, but also psychographically, so you know the buying habits, behavioral traits of the consumers here in your community. Now, all of our solutions at Buxton focus on these three components, and all of our solutions from a retail, but also from a public sector perspective as well. Understanding who are your best customers, where are those best customers found, and what is the value back to your community or back to your organization. This is how retailers are making their business strategic decisions as well. Well, we'll take a look here at some key insights, looking at market research first and foremost. Your trade area, we see about 15 minutes on average is how far consumers will drive for that to shop and dine in your community. Now, you will have those customers that drive further distances, but for evaluating the market as a business owner or for potential business owners, we see about 15 minutes is that average. Now, in the 15-minute area, there's over 90,000 potential customers for a retailer. There's 33% population growth from 2000 to 2010, and then there's over 28% of the population under the age of 19. So telling us that there's a high number of families. We also know a high level of income as well. You have a mix of some of the wealthiest households in the U.S. When we look at your market from a psychographic perspective, we see there's a mix of influential couples that enjoy giving back to the community, giving back to arts and culture, as well as to charitable organizations, and attending dance performances, as well as being active on LinkedIn. Then you have a mix of large families that have high discretionary spending, that also enjoy outdoor activities, and many have more technical jobs. And then lastly, some of the most prevalent consumers that we evaluated also were a mix of younger singles that are more active. They're getting their news from Huffington Post, and they're very email receptive. Now, if you're an existing business owner, that's telling you how your messaging should be created. It's informing that you should be looking at email when you're looking to reach certain households, but also telling you what are the households in your market, what are they more likely to prefer. Now, we also have an understanding of where people are leaving to make their purchases. So what is that leakage and unmet demand that you have in your market? When we look at a high level, these are the top three categories that we see: building materials, supply, and garden equipment, which makes sense with Pike's Nursery coming into your community. That's one of the highest areas of leakage, and they're coming into your market to fill that gap. And then sporting goods and department stores, which I'm sure that resonates with all of you. But what's most important is this information is available on demand. Sarah has provided insights and provided data to a number of business owners that have requested it, as well as potential business owners. This information also has informed our analysis to identify the most promising retailers for your trade area, because we know the retailers that are in markets most similar to yours and the characteristics that are important to those retailers. And we've put together that full strategy, identified those retailers. We've put together specific market validation tailored to each one of them. And Sarah has actively been engaging with each of those retailers, explaining why they are a fit for Milton. To date, one of those retailers has been landed in your market, and we're actively engaging with several others that are interested as well. Now, I mentioned that there have been other businesses beyond those that we've identified that the data has been utilized for. We're not just providing you with research for those 40 retailers. You have research available for your community, for any retailer that's interested in coming in, or for existing business owners that want to expand their current offerings and be more strategic about how they're operating their business and how they're communicating to the right customers to come in and increase foot traffic. So from here, we're going to continue to work ongoing on our development strategy for existing and potential businesses. And here to support you as that extension of your staff for economic development and for other initiatives that you're currently working on. I mentioned earlier we have a number of resources available. So if there are other projects that you are working on, let us know. It's likely that there's a data set that we have in-house that can provide you with the answer to your questions. Now, in the previous years, we focused on Deerfield, then we focused on Crab Apple, and now we're actually focusing this year on Birmingham Crossing. So that's going to be the focus of the third year of our partnership. Now, I know I've gone through the information rather quickly and kept it at a very high level as far as the research that we've done, but I'd love to answer any questions that you may have for myself or for Sarah and our work together.
Any questions?
I just have a comment. I'm glad to hear you say that you're focusing now on the Birmingham Crossroads. I feel like it's probably even more of a niche market, that different from Deerfield or even Crab Apple. So I know that we've gotten a lot of, just concern about the turnover there, and I'm looking forward to identifying some good, solid businesses that can go in there and create loyalty and have a thriving little hub there. So,
absolutely.
Jim?
Yeah, it'd be great to get some of what you just said in some kind of infographic format. I don't know if you've got it and you just haven't sent it to us, or maybe I just haven't looked at it, but that would be interesting.
Okay.
Yes? Rick?
And if current business, you'd mentioned that businesses that reside here or considering can get access to some of this data, is that through you, Sarah?
Right.
Do they make contact with you and then you can connect them up to the database?
Well, I have access to a lot of the data. So, for example, if somebody calls and they want traffic counts, if they want to know the demographics of the 15 area drive time, I can pull all of that myself.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. I was just going to say, you also may be wondering which was the retailer that was landed, and that was 9 Round.
We're in Deerfield.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, anything else anybody want to communicate, talk about, report on? All right, that will conclude our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
I guess true to form, I do have to say,